Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. Well, this is kind of interesting. I love my community. I'm a big fan of my community. I'm a big fan of everything we've been able to do here, right? But I'm also well aware that I'm a little bitty fish in a whole big wide pond, all right? Usually, when I say things, it don't really make waves. Well, video yesterday kind of made a little bit of waves. I'm even Reddit famous, y'all. That's how I know I've made it. Make sure you subscribe down below. Jump on the hype train. Anyway, for the first time in my content creation history, I make a video and then the developer reaches out to, provide a little context on some of the things that we talked about. So, of course, I'm talking about the video from yesterday where I provided a recap of an AMA Owlcat did regarding some questions that fans had and some of their future plans, things of that nature. There were a couple of answers where they felt like, hey, I think this could use additional context, or the way this is presented isn't quite right. And I want to make sure I'm always giving you all factual information. So let's go ahead and talk about it. To be clear, nothing that I stated was outright wrong. So if you jumped on this video hoping that, oh man, he said Owlcat is not going to make Pathfinder games anymore, but actually that's not the case. No. Everything I said was correct, all right? But there's some additional context that could potentially be provided to help clarify things for people, all right? So there's three main things that we brought up in the last video that I want to make sure are properly addressed. Let's go with the quickest one first. I mentioned that there was a question about Xbox Game Pass and the possibility of Owlcat having their games on Game Pass. And the way that I framed it in the last video might have made it seem for some people like it was a hard no, that absolutely not. They have no interest in this whatsoever. It's not going to happen. And that's most certainly not the case. Owlcat is definitely open to it. They know it's something that some fans would be interested in. So there's the possibility that future Owlcat games would be on Game Pass. But as of right now, they have no plans regarding that. So it's just a wait and see type of thing. So if I confused anybody in the last video, my apologies. That certainly wasn't my intent, and want to make sure that's cleared up now. Second thing I want to run back. We talked in the last video about the Dance of Mass DLC and how Owlcat is really happy about the reception to that DLC, and consequently it's helped inform them about what they might potentially do for DLC down the line. It was important for them that it's clear that just because they've had great success with Dance of Mask and that they really enjoy the feedback doesn't mean that all of their future DLC will revolve around companions or would be set up in the same way. More specifically, what they learned from this experience is that when considering what types of DLC or expansions they want to release for a game, it's very important to have feedback from the community and have a clear understanding of what they would like to see. The answer in regards to what the community would like to see could change from game to game. So of course, for the Pathfinder audience, they love the companions, they want more companion content, and so that was an easy way to deliver something that the community was going to enjoy. But for a different game with a different audience, the answer to that question might be completely different, and consequently, they would deliver different content. So wanted to make sure that was clear, and I felt like, that is a worthy clarification. It probably wasn't clear from the way I delivered the information in the last video, so wanted to make sure we ran that back and it was clear for all of you now. And then the last thing I wanted to cover, and I'm sure the reason why most of you clicked on this video, is Owlcat did provide more context regarding why they are not moving forward with more Pathfinder games. Now, first of all, I want to make it clear that this is not a hard stop, that Owlcat is just never going to do Pathfinder games again. There's absolutely a possibility that they will move forward with a third Pathfinder game sometime in the future. It's just not in the works right now. And of course, they're working on 4 games right now. So even if something was agreed upon, it would happen much later down the line. There's a couple of different reasons why they're not moving forward with Pathfinder. The first reason, and I think it was pretty obvious to many of you, is many of the people who were responsible for Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous are burnt out. They've been working on the same game series for, I think it's what, about 8 years now. They're not ready at this time to jump right back in to a third Pathfinder game. And I think it's interesting to have that conversation regarding Owlcat because Larian Studios is going through a very similar situation, right? They've been working on Baldur's Gate 3. I think the development time has been for about, what, 7 years? And one of the main reasons Sven Vic provided for why Larian Studios didn't want to move forward is that a lot of their devs are burnt out on Baldur's Gate and weren't really excited about potentially having to work on Baldur's Gate 4. And so it seems like Owlcat is kind of going through a similar situation where they've got a lot of the key members who made Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous so great who are burnt out in the series and aren't really excited at the possibility of making a third Pathfinder game. But going even deeper into that topic, it seems like Owlcat has kind of changed some of their development process where now they're the type of studio who gives their devs the freedom to work on what they want. So when I say that, I mean, of course, we mentioned that they're working on 4 different games. And the question was brought up, aren't they kind of overreaching? Isn't this too much for one studio? But what Owlcat has basically done is break up their teams into 4 groups that are of equal size to the team that was working on the Pathfinder games. And then the devs have the freedom to kind of work on what they want. So just because you started working on, let's say they're working on another Warhammer game, just because you've been working on this Warhammer game for a few months doesn't mean you have to stay on that team until the game actually comes out. You can say, you know what, I'm really tired of working on Warhammer. I'd rather go work on this, well, hypothetically, we'll just say this Pathfinder game. You can switch over to that different team because it's what you're more passionate about at that time. So there's kind of a system where they have, to me, it almost sounds like musical chairs where devs can switch around and kind of do what excites them and they're passionate about. And it's going to help to keep them fresh and hopefully make the quality of the games much better. So this kind of feeds back into, if you've got a ton of people who are not passionate right now about making a third Pathfinder game and are burnt out on that process, Owlcat is not the type of developer who's going to try to force them to make that game just to turn an extra buck. Me personally, I think that makes sense. I think that's good business. I think that's good strategy. I certainly don't want Owlcat to be the type of developer who's pumping out crappy games just because they know people will buy them. So to be honest with you, as much as I would like to see a third Pathfinder game, you all already know, I really wanted them to do Starfinder. As much as I would have appreciated that, I do honestly really appreciate this strategy and this approach to game making. And to take things one step further, it was also mentioned that Owlcat obviously is a CRPG developer. That's where their bread and butter has always been, and the bulk of their games will continue to be in that genre. But this new way of being able to make games that they've actually been doing for a little while, I'm saying that it's new because it's new information for me, but it's not like they just started doing this last month. But this new way of making games is also going to give them the freedom to branch out into other genres, which again is going to give their devs a lot of freedom to do what they really want to do and what's actually going to excite them and spark their passions. All of this, again, I'm very disappointed that they're not moving forward with another Pathfinder game, but I wouldn't be honest if I didn't say it makes me really excited about what their next couple of games are going to be like, because it just seems like passion, imagination, and fire is really the focus in how they're developing games right now. And not to say that it wasn't necessarily the case before, but it's just never been communicated in my mind by Owlcat in this manner. And so, again, what does that translate into? What is their next game going to be like? They did actually share a couple of things with me regarding their next game. Nothing that tells me exactly what it's like, but I'll make a separate video where we'll talk about the Unreal Engine game and maybe speculate about what it could actually end up being. So definitely be on the lookout for that. I'm looking forward to that conversation. But yeah, that's the context that Owlcat provided. Want to make sure you all have the correct information. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I know many of you are disappointed. Does this information help you at all understand why they made that decision? Or are you still like, nah, I'm enraged and I'm never buying another Owlcat game again? I saw some of those comments. Damn, y'all, they gotta make Pathfinder. They can't do nothing else. I'm looking forward to hearing the feedback. As always, appreciate you all. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.